Hey y'all, welcome to our weekly review of WandaVision. I'm your host Maui. Um, we're not gonna do a lot of fanfare today. We're gonna get right into it because I don't have a lot of time today. I will not be here for the entire thing. So we are gonna do it a little bit backwards today. We're gonna talk about just our overall thoughts of the episode first, and then Thomas and Eric will go back and do a recap and go through the beats of the story. Since I have to leave early today, so. Joining me as always every week is T Squiz. What's up, Thomas?
Hey there, hi there, ho there, friends. Super excited to talk about episode 7.
Same. And Eric, what's up?
Hello.
Oh,
how's it going?
It's going good. Let's just hop right into this bad boy. So we finally have what I think is our big bad reveal.
Yeah, it seems like it. I mean, when she gets her own theme song, let me phrase that. When she writes her own theme song for herself, that seems pretty big bad energy.
Yeah, absolutely. I loved this episode. My big thing about this series and when it really opened up for me is when Monica is and it says in the description, this is an episode 7 discussion. If you haven't watched this, please don't
Do we have our spoilers banner?
Right. Spoilers. Let me put the spoiler banner up.
We didn't.
Right. So spoilers from here on out. There's your last warning. So abandon all hope, ye who enter. When Monica is the protagonist, right? Like that is when this really is firing in all cylinders for me. And we finally see her acquire powers, which is super cool. And like that whole sequence gave me chills.
Both times. Yeah. When she pushed through the barrier and when she superhero landed.
Yeah, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm trying to think of other. I'm sorry, I'm switching to my better microphone. Other highlights for me.
That's not better.
Not better.
It's not.
No.
It got worse.
It should be better.
Now it's fine.
Now it's fine.
We just needed to adjust. Anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, that just like there's so many moments in this. Seeing Paul Bettany's vision with Kat Dennings' Darcy. That pairing is super fun.
Never did I think that was going to be if somebody be like pick two characters to sit in a truck together, it would never have been Darcy and Vision. But I think they're both such great actors that the characters are so solid that when you put them together, even if you don't know what you're going to get, you're just going to get something interesting.
That was how I felt when they had paired Darcy with Jimmy Woo, because like I love both of those characters, but I'm like, okay, I would never have expected these two to be working together and for it to work so well.
Yeah.
This format.
Yeah. So on the Agatha all along of it all. So early on, I thought that it was Agatha. They actually did throw me off of the scent with the scene from the Halloween episode. I was convinced that she was not the bad guy at that point. And I think they did a really good job of throwing us off of the scent of the bad guy with that.
I have to agree. I have to agree that I was thrown off there too. I'm like, I think probably a larger minority of the audience is where like I don't know who Agatha Harkness is as a character outside of WandaVision. I've read a lot of the comics, but I don't think I've been introduced to her. So hearing all the speculation online and us talking about it is really all I knew about her. But I was a little, I think I was in your camp where I was like, maybe it's not her. But now, hey, she's got a theme song.
Yeah. Eric, what did you see this coming, or had they thrown you successfully off of her track?
I saw it coming. So it's a little from column A, a little from column B. I definitely felt like she was Agatha Harkness. Like as soon as you came up with that theory like a few episodes ago, I was like, oh, that makes absolute sense, because Agnes has been there the whole time and knowing more than she should and always showing up conveniently at the right times. I'm like, she's in on it, whatever is going on. So like when they did that scene where it seemed like, you know, she was being manipulated as well, I was thinking perhaps that there was a greater force behind all of this that was manipulating Agatha as well, and that maybe she was going to be the one who helps Wanda escape from this. Because a lot of the hints in the previous episode were making it seem like all the fan theories about Mephisto might be true, which I'm not discrediting yet. I mean, we don't have the full picture.
It could still be, and I will say this, with Agatha now being seemingly the kind of the fulcrum of this anomaly, I'm less hesitant about Mephisto, because if it is Mephisto like being behind what Agatha is doing, well, we still have a central villain in this story arc, which is Agatha, even if she has a boss. And my concern was that this late into a show, if you're introducing somebody that has not been in the show, so like, because Mephisto likely wouldn't be any of the people that we've already met, because they probably would get a bigger named actor to play this big villain. And so if they're not in it when we're in the beginning of now the third act of this series, I would be like, why? I don't care about this person. I was actually just saying this to Thomas earlier today. I'm happy that it's Agatha, because I actually kind of care about her within the scope of the story. As a character within the story, it's someone that I know. It doesn't feel like it's just something out of left field.
And what is also nice is that we're actually continuing the lovely thread that I don't think we've talked about enough on our reviews, is that this story is about three women. It's about Monica, it's about Wanda, and it's about Agatha now that we have our big bad. And so we have a new Marvel entry where our three really main characters are women. Like Vision's doing his due, Jimmy Woo's great, Hayward is a lovely villain as well. But like the main focus of our story is three women. And we've been doing, and I think they've been giving them agency and playing really well. I noticed that specifically today. I thought it really came through.
Yeah.
So I'm still
go ahead, Eric.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to say that I'm not 100% on board that Agatha is the villain necessarily, because while I'm not super familiar with the character, my memory of her is that she was a mentor to Wanda in the comics. In fact, like in a previous episode, I think I had said, oh, the character from the Spider-Man comics? I believe I was mixing her up with Madam Web when I said that.
No, she was in Spider-Man, because wasn't she behind One More Day?
Oh, okay. Yes.
Right.
All right. So, yeah, regardless, though, my point being that Agatha, in the comics at least, has been a mentor and a good character. And so, like, if she is behind all this, I feel like she may have a reason for it, unless they're going completely a different direction with her.
But it's not unusual for the MCU to turn things on their head. Look at the Skrulls. I mean, like, we're still getting Secret Invasion, but like the first entry of the Skrulls turned them into sympathetic refugees, even though like every Skrull in the comic books, except for Hulkling, who's only half Skrull, is like just this evil character, like all of them.
And Zavin from Runaways.
Yeah,
okay, but yeah, I get your point though. Yeah,
right. That's a good point. That's a good point. And my original theory was that if it is Agatha, that she would be there to help Wanda, and perhaps she thinks that she is helping Wanda. Perhaps she's that's like, possible, yeah. No, I'm trying to teach you how to actually live your life and like own your power. But she's a person that has been corrupted by her power, so like her help is actually kind of poisoning the person who Wanda was.
I could definitely see that being the image direction.
Seeing on of Agatha on like TikTok and on the internet is her like hands in the air, like Rah! So she just looks very villainous to me. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm really excited to see where it is, specifically because I think today all four of our sort of main character, or five of our sort of main characters today, Darcy, Vision, Monica, Wanda, and Agnes, gave some really good acting performances in today's episode. I just like Catherine Hahn drew me in. Elizabeth Olsen's just like moments of confusion and despair and like battling with, grief and depression. Paul Bettany like figuring, coming to terms with his thing, and then Darcy is sort of our comic relief, and Monica's steadfastness, I thought were really, really strong performances from everybody in today's episode.
The specific sequence when she's pushing through the hex to get back in, and you see her like, you see all these different identities of her, and she's hearing all these voices from her past. She's hearing. So I went back and put the subtitles on, and I think it's a lot of dialogue from Captain Marvel.
It's exclusively dialogue from Captain Marvel. Right. The only reason I know that specifically is because I did a reading of Captain Marvel and had to go through the script moment by moment. So it is a moment before the big fight. It's a moment
it's when she wants to go to space with them.
With them, like, no, Pop can come get us. There's also some things that are new. Like there was a moment, like there's a Maria line that was not in the film.
The glow like Captain Marvel.
It was early on in that pushing sequence. It was like one of the first things that you hear. It's clearly Maria Rambeau. It's clearly her mother, but it's not a line that's in Captain Marvel. But then we literally get like just a whole chunk of Captain Marvel, like a whole scene of Captain Marvel plays out while she's pushing through. And it's very similar to Carol's own moment of power assertion in Captain Marvel. It's very similar to Carol falling through the Supreme Intelligence.
I thought that too. I felt like it very much echoed that scene.
Yeah.
Are we sure it was exclusively Captain Marvel? Because I could have sworn I heard like lines from previous episodes of WandaVision, because I thought they said something about her mother's death at one point.
Oh yes, you're right. There's the lines from the doctor when she blips.
Yes, but anything that's not from WandaVision proper is from Captain Marvel.
And I'm gonna scrub through real quick as I'm talking. Maybe Eric can discuss it later.
But yeah, but just the visually, like that scene is riveting, and we're seeing the creation of a new MCU hero, which is super freaking cool. And I loved the way that she could see. I'm assuming she's. Do you think she's Photon, or do you think she's Spectrum? Like,
well, yeah, I'm not sure which code name they're gonna go with, but
like the way that she could see
the connection with her mother in Captain Marvel.
Maybe.
Sorry, what did you say, Thomas?
I think it looked more like Spectrum. If you're gonna
from the vision that she had, right? Yeah, but it was cool. Like no matter what, like we've yet to see what these powers can do.
But like also, she could be Photon because that is her mother's call sign. That would make that tracks in fiction.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I feel like that's the name they would go with, just because of the connection and the setup from Captain Marvel.
Or they like throw it out there as a possibility, and she's like, "No, that was my mom. I need to forge my own identity." I can see them doing something like that, where she's like, they're like, "Oh, what's your code name going to be?" "Oh, your mom was Photon. You have light power. You should be Photon." She's like, "No, that was my mother's code name. I need to own my own power. I'm gonna come up with my own name. I'm gonna
definitely possible." Although I feel like Photon is definitely a better name than Spectrum.
I would agree with that. I think I like Photon a little bit better.
Speed is we're dealing with speed so far, so like I mean,
right? Yeah.
What did you think about the credit sequence?
Oh, like the after.
Well, we have two. So we have two title sequences in this. We have the WandaVision one, then we have Agatha All Alone. So I loved the one for WandaVision this week because it was very much inspired by The Office, and I love The Office. But then at the end, there was a little bit of Modern Family like thrown in. And then the Agatha All Along, I felt was a tribute to the Munsters, and I thought it was amazing. Like I was cracking. I've listened to it like 20 times today. It's such a fun bop. I dig it. So I'm curious to get your thoughts, Eric. What did you think?
I definitely was picking up on the Office vibes from the opening credits. I haven't really watched Modern Family, so I didn't get that as much, but I knew that this episode was going to be an homage to that style of sitcom. The Agatha All Along song was definitely cracking me up, and that's why like I'm still kind of on the fence of like, is she bad or is she not? Because this is extremely goofy. Like, are we going for a humorous villain, or like, is this just kind of like, it was me? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure yet. You know?
I don't know what you're asking, Kevin Dukes. What is the streamer's link? I don't know what that means. Are you talking about something in to the show, or are you asking if you can come in and have a conversation with us? I'm not quite sure. Also, Handlebar Larry, what's up, Larry? Said Agatha also gave me a bit of a Sabrina vibe. Oh yeah,
I could see that. Yeah,
totally could see that. Totally.
like
I definitely
killing
think,
adventures.
I definitely think the humor in the character is Catherine Hahn coming through, because she's a hilarious woman and has been for most of her career. So I think that might be her twist on the character that's coming through the music from the Lopez duo, who are writing all of WandaVision, and that's why the music is very good. I mean, Frozen has some solid music. Frozen
I
2,
can see that. Yeah.
Coco. So I could see it that way. I liked the Office sort of thing, and then the Modern Family was less in the intro and more just in the style of
It wasn't until the very end of the intro. The font of the WandaVision with the white and the red was very reminiscent of that, but nothing else in terms of I'm not a big Modern Family fan though, so maybe I'm wrong. And if it's someone out there is a big Modern Family fan,
it's all photo frames and like it's a completely different sort of intro. This I think actually harkened a little more. The intro I think the visuals of the intro harkened to Parks and Recreation, and the actual theme song was a homage to The Office.
I could totally see that. See that. Yeah,
because I was looking at that because I know The Office intro is like shots of Scranton and the characters in The Office, whereas Parks and Rec is more that like layered effect. And there's another show that's like this that I think we're missing one where it is the logo or the name of the show just in different fonts and in different locations. And
if anybody knows what that is, please let us know in the chat. That's it. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I recognized it when it came on screen, but I was like, ooh.
Also, Paul Bettany, his comedic timing, and I feel like we have not gotten enough of that in his acting career. Like I remember the first time I fell in love with Paul Bettany was in A Knight's Tale.
Yeah, you said.
Where he plays Jeffrey Chaucer. He is the best part of that movie. He's so good in that movie. And seeing him do comedy, this is a completely different style of comedy, but his timing is so freaking good. His talking heads were just so funny. And then when he's like, wait, why am I talking to you? What? And just takes it off and just gets up and walks away. It's just amazing. He is so good.
That moment got me too, because he says, why am I talking to you? And he gets up, and then we cut back into the truck, and Darcy looks over, and he's flying through the roof. So I felt like he was gonna take off from the chair, but he go back into the truck. We had to cut back to the truck, which means that him sitting there wasn't really happening. Like he was
in his mind. That was how I was interpreting it too. I was like, what?
And this moment, the confessional moment, was happening in his own psyche as a part of the hex. And it's just so many layers of nonsense. But I loved it.
Until that happened, I really expected Darcy to like get out of the truck and like walk over to him and be like, who are you talking to?
That would be amazing.
It's sad they didn't do that joke at all in this episode.
Yeah. Did you? So I went back and rewatched it. So I watched it 2 times so far, and what I realized is that so there's a moment when Wanda is doing a talking head, and then the interviewer says, well, "Don't you think you deserved it?"
Yeah.
And in the Agatha theme song, you see that Agatha is that person.
Mm-hmm.
So when I rewatched it, that is totally Catherine Hahn's voice, but just modulated to sound deeper.
You think pitched down?
Yeah, it's pitched down.
Okay.
Yeah, which I was just like, oh, that's detail.
That's cool.
Yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure that's Catherine Hahn singing Agatha all along as well.
Oh, I wouldn't put it past
her. I'm pretty positive that's her singing. That sounds like her voice to me. So I found that interesting as well. I only have a few more minutes before I have to bounce. I'm going to leave y'all for the rest of this. So I'm going to just quickly give my thoughts, and I'm going to let you go into the recap.
I do have one more question for you.
Oh, sure. My
question is, do you think we were cheated out of our aerospace reveal, or do you think we haven't gotten the aerospace?
Okay. Yes, we do need to. We do need to talk about that. Okay. So here's my thought. It's totally fine if it's not anybody in particular. But because this show is so mystery laden, everything that they say we are going to take as a possible mystery. Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of people upset online today because there was no Reed Richards. And you can be disappointed that your theory didn't pan out, but to say that this is that the show has done a bad job at what it is doing because it didn't do the thing you wanted it to do, I think is a very self-indulgent thing to say. Like, the writers can write whatever story they want. You can like it or you can dislike it, but to say that the failure is that they didn't do the thing that you would have done, I think is a bit much, you know.
Which is a common thing in fandom lately, where it's like, this is not how I would do it. This is not my theory. This movie sucks, you know.
Right. But also, the other thing is that could just be the person that her contact sent. It could be that we still have not met that person.
That is true.
Or it could be that is a human form of the little girl Skrull from Captain Marvel, and that's just her identity right now on Earth.
I hadn't thought of that one. Yeah.
No one's ever mentioned anything about the fact that Skrulls are among us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fair.
That's very, very possible that this is her childhood friend, the daughter of Talos.
Okay.
Yeah. Who does not have a name.
Who does not, as far as I know.
She doesn't have a name.
Mm-hmm.
His wife has a name, but they never named the girl. All right. Well, there we go. I think that's good. Yeah. All right. And give us your ranking, Maui.
So this episode I think serves as like the setting the final stage episode. So it's still very, very good, but I don't know that it is necessarily reaches the narrative heights of some of the other ones, because this is very much serves as an exposition episode. But all of the beats are really good. The acting is just phenomenal throughout, and I feel like this show is just a very consistent show. There's not really anything that's filler. Everything is driving the plot, even if it is exposition versus like just like, oh, we're just in the narrative, just like, you know, on a roller coaster ride. It's always feels with the same quality and the same level of thought and attention and detail. So I would say for this one, I probably rank it a little bit higher than last week's. I'd probably give this like a 4.1 is what I would say. Larry in the chat says 10 out of 10 for Kat Dennings in the Guardians of the Galaxy outfit alone.
It is very reminiscent of the like official Guardians outfits, which
yeah. So that's my thought. I got a few more minutes here, so I will. Why don't you take the driver's seat on the recap today, and I will hang out for as long as I can.
Great, yeah. So we've talked a bit about it, about the beginnings of the episode. I'm kind of blowing. I'm kind of scrubbing through it as sort of my marker on on my iPad. So excuse me. We didn't see a lot of our man Hayward in this episode, which I think is interesting because there's lots of things floating around about who he may or may not be on the internet, which I think is kind of fun. But we start in Wanda's house, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it's a cold open.
Waking up, I think.
Yeah, we have a cold open wake up sequence. And
which was released early, by the way, on YouTube. They released that little opening sequence on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I stay away from anything that's official. So Wanda has this little moment with the boys, and the boys are concerned because their video game is fritzing out, right? And not only fritzing out, it's just changing. It's regressing through the history of child entertainment. And then that sort of becomes, I'd say, sort of Wanda's central issue for the episode. Or for at least for most of the episode until Monica shows up. Is Wanda is not in control of what's happening anymore. The expansion of the hex seems to have taken a lot out of her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think I tracked. We started off with Wiimotes, then we went to GameCube, we went to Atari, and then we went to Uno cards, which I thought was amazing. And that definitely seemed to be the central theme for Wanda, was losing control. Right? She's losing control. Everything is falling apart. And I loved her like nihilistic self in this opening sequence. Was hilarious.
Right. And she says it. She says losing control of the false world we've created, which is sort of like it's the first time Wanda's really admitted that she created this false world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, she kind of admitted it to Quicksilver, but just she didn't know how to.
Yeah,
how she got there, but it was a little. Yeah, I guess it was a little from column A, a little from column B. I guess.
Yeah,
she was always kind of reticent. She was always like, she would feign ignorance and then be like, "But you don't think this is bad, right?"
Yeah.
Right.
I guess it was more implied.
Yeah, this is more like, well, I did what I could.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get a quick little flashback of sort of the horror show that was it expanding and consuming people, which I forgot how terrifying it was.
Mm-hmm. Less terrifying, though, when there's wacky music behind it.
Right, music has a lot. Oh, Maui, I don't know how to pull in the comments, but
you hover over it, it says show, you click it. So here we go. Okay. It says Donald Childs, my old coworker, says, Interestingly, nothing else in Westview seemed to be fritzing out, like where Vision and Darcy were, or in Agatha's house, which implies Agatha was the one stalling Vision, not Wanda, and Agatha was specifically messing with Wanda's present. I 100% agree with that, Don. I thought that was definitely Agatha keeping Vision away, because Wanda actually mentions in this scene that we're talking about right now, well, if he doesn't want to be here, I'm not going to stop him. Obviously, she wants him to come home
downstairs when she's talking to the boys.
My reaction in that scene was, "Aren't you though?"
Right. And I find it super interesting because not only is Wanda like not, she's not American, and we're dealing with some American sitcoms, right? She grew up in this war, like a slightly maybe a war-torn area. A very different sort of growing up experience, but she's doing all the traditional American things in the thing, including like the way to raise children, which she doesn't know how to do. Like, obviously, she doesn't know how to raise kids, but these children are looking to her for answers and comfort, and she like doesn't know how to do it. So I think it's an interesting examination of like what it is to be a parent as well, especially for people who aren't prepared, because Wanda's relatively young, even with the 5-year well she didn't age for 5 years, right? So she's however old she was in Infinity War.
And she didn't experience their childhood up to this moment. Like they were just born. Like I don't even know how much time
3
has
days
elapsed.
ago.
Like
Yeah.
days, really?
The entire show thus far has been about a week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
like
think.
she has been thrown into the thick of this and has no idea what she's doing, really.
But
Right.
I think that she does think of them as her actual children. I think she does have that maternal connection
Yeah.
to them, even though time seems to have no meaning at this point within this bubble universe. So that's it for me. I'm gonna pop out. You two enjoy the talk. Everybody, I will see you next week. Be sure to like and subscribe. Reflect Media. Peace out.
Thanks, Maui.
Hi, Maui.
I think because we got some of it in the episode where we now know Agnes kills the dog.
Right.
Like her parenting, but like not really knowing how to do it, and then or saying things that you would like never say to children normally. And I just find that I think that's an interesting examination.
Yeah, and she just
that is.
I thought it was very interesting that the beginning of this episode, Wanda almost has like given up. She's like, I can't control this anymore. I don't know what I'm doing. I have these kids that are aging like several years every like few minutes. Oh,
Right, and
I think she was. Yeah, I think Agatha was there.
Agatha was there, so maybe it's Agatha aging up the kids.
Yeah, so like Wanda was definitely seemed to be going through this like Maui had mentioned, this sort of like depression almost of like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no answers, and these kids are looking at me. I'm just gonna take a me day, like I got nothing. Sorry.
Yes, yeah. She says for her recklessness, she's gonna take a quarantine style me day the whole day, and I was like, that is I was like, I don't know how that really works. And then she wakes up in her costume. She's still wearing her costume, which I thought was a very funny visual. We got the boys fighting, and he says, "You always." I like the line. It's like, "I got here first." He goes, "You always get here first." Like, well, of course he does. He's Speed.
And I thought it was very interesting in this scene, just sort of an homage for the comics fans. The boys were dressed in colors that like reflect or sort of echo their costumes in the comics.
Yeah. Yes, I did go and look at Wiccan's sort of outfit, and yeah, he's wearing his own costume for Halloween.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. But like in this episode though, like they're just their regular street clothes. We're in like the same color scheme and sort of like we're very similar to it. It was kind of are you familiar with the concept of Disney bounding?
Of course. Yeah, I used to
like when people like dress up sort of like to look kind of like a Disney character when they go to one of the parks. Yeah, like that's what it felt like in these outfits, I thought.
Absolutely. Then we have our intro, WandaVision created by Wanda Maximoff, which I thought was funny. Which like, is it created by Wanda Maximoff? Is it?
We're not sure.
Like, who is that? Well, because then I sort of got into the conversation of like, who are the intros for? Right?
Yeah.
If Wanda created this world and it's the way she wants it, and she knows it's coming out as television, like, who are the intros for? Who's watching the television? Right? Technically, like, stumbled up. I mean, Darcy discovered it, but like, it wasn't on purpose.
Yeah, it wasn't being like intentionally broadcast to the masses.
Right. So, who are these intros for, if not just a convention for the actual audience, us watching?
Right.
Actual watching the thing. I think it's super interesting that we play with the aspect ratio again so often in this episode, especially at the end when she goes into sort of the witchy cave, and we're in the black bar ratio and not the full screen ratio.
Yeah.
So I go, does that mean that moment is now taking place in the real world somehow?
That was yeah.
We're not
that was how I took it. Yeah, that like this is like we're like pulling back the curtain. This is what this little sitcom world maybe actually looks like, because that ties in, I think, with the fake commercial in this episode, but we haven't gotten there yet.
No, we haven't. After we sort of have the moment of everybody outside the hex, and Haywood being like, I'm gonna get in there, I'm gonna get me pictures of Spider-Man. He's just being evil. Well, have you heard what the internet's saying about Haywood right now?
No. What is the theory going around?
The theory is that he's Ultron in disguise, because that is taken from the Avengers animated series, the Avengers Assemble. They defeat Ultron once, and then there's this like political figure who shows up, or military figure, who just sort of throws roadblocks in the Avengers' way, and then eventually it's revealed that it was Ultron in human disguise the whole time. It was a pretty big, solid reveal, and so people think that maybe it's Hayward, or that Hayward is how we, if we continue the theory that WandaVision is how we get X-Men into mutants into MCU, that Hayward is how we get Sentinels into the MCU.
Maybe. I don't know.
He's very anti-meta-human.
Thus far, I haven't really. There hasn't been any like real like big jump out moment in the series that made me think Hayward was anything other than what he appeared, which is just kind of a power hungry military guy. But we'll see, I guess.
Just jumping back to our discussion on the costumes, I like Larry. I like they were Power Rangering. The boys are wearing.
Right. Yeah.
I really like that. I'm gonna start calling it that. Start calling it Power Rangering. But then Vision wakes up in the field, which was the sword base, and it's now a circus. The circus has come to town, and he is a clown. Apparently, everybody thinks he's a clown. Which I kind of
I think because of his red face and
and
colorful costume.
And I love that Darcy is just standing there. She's just the handcuffs got bigger, and I think it's because I was like, man, what are they going to do to her? What's going to happen? And I think this was a really good. I think this was a really good choice.
Well, because like she was still chained to the vehicle. It's just they had to come up with a reason within that reality for that to be the case, and it's part of her act apparently.
She's the escape artist. But so what's interesting is that she then gets a confessional, which in Modern Family convention only the main characters get. So she's already entered this world and has become a main character to Agatha or to Wanda, whoever is in control of the meta, which is super funny now that we've got like this world within a world within a world that I think is fun. I'm checking. There we go. That's talking about Sentinels. Daniel says it could be interesting if the MCU Sentinels were based on Vision, because we know that Haywood was trying to reactivate.
He was trying to make him a weapon. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility then. I would say. Interesting idea there. And let's see. So I think at this point then Vision like got tired of Darcy blowing him off and having no idea what he's talking about. He accessed her mind. And
so that's a little later. We actually cut back to Wanda and the boys. And their names. Which one's Wiccan?
Billy.
Billy actually calls out what a lot of us felt was really like the heavy hitter line of last episode, where he says, "Hey mom, last night Uncle P said that thing about re-killing Dad."
Right.
And Wanda sort of brokes no argument. She says, "Don't believe a word. Don't believe anything that man said. He is not your uncle."
Not your uncle. Yeah, I thought that was interesting. Because that's another hint there that like this world is not under Wanda's control anymore. Because he was definitely an element she did not expect.
Right, which she said in the episode, and Maui and I sort of had that disagreement where I believed her. I was like, I don't think she did it. And Maui's like, nah, I think she's playing us. And I was like, in that moment, I believed Elizabeth Olsen's performance.
I'm with you on that. I kind of felt like that genuinely threw her for a loop. And like, there was no reason in that moment for her to be acting. Because like, it wasn't really like a sitcom scene. It was Wanda being more vulnerable and saying like, I can control this world, but I don't control every aspect of it. And I don't necessarily know what's going on or how I got here.
Right. And then she has her sort of explosion at the kids where she's like, I don't know what's going on and you can figure it out for yourself or whatever. She makes the joke about them being vibranium, which I think is funny. And then of course, right on cue, Agnes shows up. And she takes the kids. I'm trying to keep us, we've got 20 minutes to sort of wrap up. She takes them, and Wanda, even though she lets Agnes in, seems a little like, I don't know if I want you to go with them or not. But she lets them go, and and Agnes has her. I did bite a kid once, which I'm not gonna put that.
An amazing line.
Yeah,
I feel like Wanda is a little suspicious of Agnes at this point as well. Like, you could definitely see she was hesitant, like you were saying.
Yep. And then she leaves, and then the world really starts sort of going haywire of things changing into different time periods. Our favorite goose friend shows up, I believe.
The stork, yes.
The stork. I was like, yeah, the stork's back.
Yeah, the whole house is glitching and shifting between different time periods. It was a really very cool sequence, I thought.
Yeah, and then we're back in the real world with Jimmy Woo and Monica revealing now that they know about Project Codename Cataract, and that Hayward was trying to reactivate Vision. So I'm wondering if now, because then Monica makes the comment about Vision being the sentient weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been talking about Wanda being the sentient weapon.
Well, they both are, really.
They both are, but like, if Sword, like, we're not really entirely sure when Sword is founded.
Mm-hmm.
So far, and I wonder if, like, with the death of Vision and somebody caretaking his body, that's what founded Sword.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility, I would say.
Yeah, well, because there's a Thor deleted scene where Eric Selvig drops Sword way back in phase 1.
Oh, I forgot that.
Yeah, it's a deleted scene, so it's not canon. But we could have had Sword all the way back there.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Quite possibly. And then she gets her battle tank, which I think has a really epic reveal for something that, like, we don't really have a context for. You know what I mean? It's just it's a really cool rover thing, but, like, yeah. Okay.
I mean, I think this is why everybody was kind of so disappointed that, like, her contact was not someone that we recognized from the comics, because, like, this massive, like, this vehicle that she's using to access the hex, like, that's clear. That seems to be clearly what she needed an aerospace contact for, because this looks like some kind of, like, moon rover or something for exploring other planets.
Yeah, it's a moon rover. Well, see, my question is maybe the contact isn't there. The contact was who she called to get the thing.
Right, and this could just be who was delivering it. So I'm not ready to write that off just yet.
I'm not either. Larry says, remember, Sword was originally an X-Men offshoot.
Astonishing X-Men by Joss Whedon.
Right, there you go. So I think I still think we're gonna get X-Men. I still gonna get X-Men, which I'm excited about. But you're right. So the next scene is Vision just finally giving up, trying to get through to her without turning off her brain or turning on her brain, however you want to think about
it.
Right.
He accessed her, like, true memories, and she's like, okay,
her real brain.
Let's get down to business here, because like, she was tired of playing a part.
And he brings up that he intercepted that communique way back in episode 4 or 5, I believe.
Yeah, I really liked how quickly Darcy just got back into, like, just adjusted to, like, okay, this is the mission. Let's get going. Like, there was no, like, confusion or, like, what happened? How did I get? Oh, right. Oh, okay. I'm in the show now. Let's go. Let's do this.
I think that's both, like, one, that she'd only been there for, maybe in reality, like, a couple hours.
Yeah.
It was like night, and now it's early the next morning or something like that. And I also think that's, like, an efficacy of storytelling thing. It's like, we've seen enough people freak out, and, like, honestly, I don't want to see it again.
Well, honestly, I think it's also just a side effect of Darcy's personality. She's seen some weird shit in the Thor movies. She's kind of used to this sort of thing.
Right. Donald clears up our timeline for us, saying that Sword has to have existed before Vision died because the snap
Snapping. I always love that term.
Monica was working for Sword when she was dusted, when she was
True,
snapped.
yes.
So thank you, Donald, for clearing that up for us. There's so many things to keep track of.
Mhm.
So then Darcy and Vision, Grand Theft Auto. Darcy gets her superhero moment where she just punches out the strong man.
That was
Which is a great moment. And Vision has concern for his children, which I thought was super interesting. He also thinks that, he also is still in the camp of like, these creatures are real.
yeah.
And we still don't know.
He doesn't really have like any reason to doubt that because this is his reality right now. Like all the things Darcy was telling about his real life, he even says in the episode, this feels like it happened to someone else. It doesn't feel real to him yet, what his actual life was.
Right.
WandaVision and Westview, that is his life, as weird as it is.
As weird as it is, yeah. Good point, Eric. And then we cut back to Wanda, and the house starts changing all around her. We see through the house. That's where we get the stork and the smoke. And Wanda's not doing well.
No.
She's really starting to lose her grip. And so now I'm thinking that it's sort of like maybe it's Agnes' gaslighting. Like, it's almost like a form of gaslighting, magic gaslighting.
That's possible. That was not really how I took it. I felt like this was a side effect of Wanda's deteriorating mental state. I think Pietro showing up last episode threw her for a loop, and then like the effort of extending the hex, I feel like she's just kind of like losing control now and like doesn't really know what is going on, and like her self-doubt was being reflected in the house literally shifting between all these different forms she had turned it into.
That is what I thought as I was watching it. Now knowing that Agnes is behind a lot of I wonder if that is what's happening. So absolutely
either way, I think.
Yeah, when I watched it to begin with, I absolutely agree with you that it is her falling apart. And then we now have the scene of her sitting there and going, she can't fix it. And the interviewer, which we think is Agnes's voice pitched down, responds to her, and Wanda goes like, "Wait a minute, you're not supposed to be talking."
Which, I thought that was very interesting because it's like, who actually is she talking to? Can she see another person there, or like, is she just hearing a disembodied voice? I didn't quite understand how the rules of this type of reality were working.
And I don't know enough about Modern Family to tell you if they ever sort of realize that if there is somebody behind the camera. Like in The Office, which is similar, we do know that there are physical people there because they actually interact with the characters later on in the series. But Donald saying that the fact that only Wanda's house was spazzing out, or that's all we saw, lends credence to the idea that Agnes is sort of
that's a good point.
I think it's lots of stuff
happening elsewhere.
Now we get to my favorite commercial so far.
Oh yes,
the modern pharmaceutical commercial. The party from the concert from a Zoloft commercial. And people are talking about the Nexus as the Nexus of realities.
Right, that was my thought immediately. Yeah, for anybody watching who's not a big comics nerd like us, the Nexus of all realities is a concept in Marvel Comics where like different parallel universes kind of intersect and you can access different parts of the multiverse. I think this is mainly used in like the comics with the character Man-Thing, but it's appeared in like a variety of other places as well. So like this is possibly then tying in with the next Doctor Strange movie where we're going to be introduced to the multiverse concept.
Yeah, well, look, we hope. I got burned by Spider-Man, and I'm still not happy about it. Every time I'm so...
I mean, it's in the title this time, Multiverse of Madness.
All right, Feige, I'll give you another chance. Well, they call it Nexu to Promocide, and the suffix CIDE is like death or killing, which that's super nitpicky, but they put it like right on the money. Like they put it right there for us to see. But again, I think, like I said, this is my favorite commercial so far.
I thought it was very interesting. This is also, at least as far as I could tell, the first of the commercials that were not drawn from Wanda's memory. Because if this is referring to the nexus of all realities, that's not something she has any experience with.
No,
This is seemingly not referencing something from her past.
Right. Which then goes. So is Agnes really in charge of the things? And speaking of Agnes, the next scene is Agnes and the kids in her house, scritching on the bunny. Agnes trying to see what's going on, and Billy has the great line of "Your insides are quiet."
Yeah,
which I was like,
a little creepy. Not gonna lie.
Oh snap! But he said earlier that like he could earlier in the episode he was hearing too much noise. You know, and that's actually something I find super interesting about any superhero who has the ability to like read minds or sense emotions, is how they figure out how to filter things out. Because there's constant, if it's going to be minds and you're around people, there's going to be constant noise. How do you settle that? But the fact that Billy can't, I think that just means he can't read her mind. But he doesn't understand that, you know, because he's a child.
Right, and it's also possibly a hint that Agnes is not a prisoner, because I would imagine what he's picking up from a lot of the other people in Westview is, oh my God, let me out of here, I need to find my wife, my family, my kids, you know, like they're all in a state of inner panic maybe when they become conscious of what's happening, but Agnes is not feeling that.
Yeah, and so now, you know, we know she's playing a role. Now we know, watching it, you know, again, we know she's just trying to, you know, keep the kids calm, or, you know, so that she can keep a little more control over something. Whether or not she's fully in control of the hex, or she is using Wanda's abilities to be in control of the hex, you know, we don't know. But she is definitely more important than we might have previously thought. And then Monica gets ready to take the rover in. She puts on a fun little spacesuit. Like a legitimate spacesuit, which I thought was fun. It's you know, everybody's overconfident. Well, the sword people, the sword contingent are overconfident in their rover. You know, just as I think almost it's a trope. Any military, anything in a superhero movie is overconfident in their abilities, and it's the actual superheroes who have to do something.
Yeah. But I loved in this scene how the rover kind of like was halfway morphed into like a pickup truck. That was a nice touch.
When it flew back, I just thought that was the coolest thing. And the whole point was they got this rover that's made out of like a titanium vibranium alloy or something, you know, some crazy metal that they were like, it won't even change. And Jimmy's like, it's changing. And I was like, well, yeah. Everything else changed. You didn't think this was going to do it.
I'm not sure why they thought it would work any better, but
it is a great.
Good effort, guys.
I hope whoever made it, because it definitely, now that I'm looking at the shot again, well, there's a couple shots, but I think that helicopter shot is a miniature.
Okay.
It could be a miniature, and I hope the prop person really had fun building that. And then we get to, of course, I think one of the coolest parts of the episode is Monica breaking through and having her powers. We talked about it a bit with Maui, so I don't think we need to go over it again unless you had something else you wanted to add.
No, I just wanted to say, like, I remember just my jaw dropping at what a cool effect that was, of like all the different forms and like after images behind her of like
I think
eras that she could have transformed into at various times.
Yeah, it's I think it's very cool, and then the moment where she gains her powers is when she wills the things to coalesce, right? Like we can clearly, it's Monica's will and determination and strength that she centers herself and pulls it all into her, and it's and we get those great eyes.
I thought it was very interesting that it was just an effect with the eyes, like the glowing, like bright blue eyes. Like, given the nature of her powers in the comics, I was expecting light to spring from her hands, but this was like not super flashy. This is like maybe like she's just slightly starting to understand that she has powers.
Because we then see we see some external light when she lands.
True, yeah, we do.
By Wanda later, and I think we're ramping it up. I don't think they wanted to give away the whole goat right away. And then we have whimsical music as Vision and Darcy have an awkward conversation in a food truck. Darcy tries to explain Infinity War, like explaining Infinity War to your grandma. Who's seen the movie.
She explain everything, like Age of Ultron. Even also, she was covering it for that. Yes. And, like, this had to have been quite a shock for the Vision.
Save the world, or the universe, but half the universe. It worked, but then you died again. and Vision is sort of now coming to, well, not sort of, he's fully understanding that, like, the trauma that Wanda has gone through is what he thinks has truly caused all this.
Yeah.
He has no idea thus far about Agnes, or any suspicions. I think he thinks she's just as trapped as everybody else, and that Wanda is the one creating the impediments, which I think
this scene was cracking me up.
Yeah, they don't go around it; they just sit and.
This scene felt very much like the Truman Show to me. Have you seen that?
I haven't, but I do know the concept.
But like it was that kind of moment where it's like he's trying to escape from his fictional world, and then like just roadblocks and construction, and like, oh, there's a leak at the plant. There's like everything suddenly appearing to stop him, and that's what this very much felt like to me.
Yeah, he brings up the point that his consciousness dates back to Jarvis. His corporeal form is born out of Ultron's desire for a body, and then he says, "What am I now?" And Darcy has no idea. All she knows is that that Wanda and Vision are meant to be together, and we all know that. We know that the love that they have is real. Those seeds planted in Civil War really are coming to a real fruition, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure, and I think it's interesting. That conversation, I think it's going to be interesting to see like where the show goes, because we've been speculating that Vision may end up dying once again once he has to accept the reality of what exists outside of Westview. Or like he's going to, before that happens, he's going to have to come to some kind of like conclusion of like, this is who I am. Like, I'm doing this for me, not because Ultron or Wanda or Agnes or anyone is trying to do it for me or turning me or Hayward trying to make me a weapon. He has to make a choice of who he wants to be. And I think that's going to be very interesting to see.
Right. And speaking of Vision and who he wants to be, the next scene is Monica coming over to the house and trying to, tell her the truth. And Wanda just not wanting to hear it. Wanda saying, literally, don't tell me about Hayward's plan, which to me makes me go, she knew, and that's why she went to break him out.
I would assume so. I mean, like, aside from just wanting to get him back, like, if you find your dead robot husband in a military lab, you have to know they're up to some shady stuff.
Right. Well, before, all the information that we have in fiction is that she broke him out and, according to Haywood, violated his living will, which could all be lies, but Vision very well could have said, I don't want to be anybody's weapon.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, it makes more sense if Wanda is breaking his corpse out because they were violating it. Because they don't care. She would care, right?
Yeah.
It settles. And this is where we watch Monica land, and we get that ripple of light around her knee and her feet, which
yeah, we did.
3-point superhero landing. And then
superhero landing.
Right. And the neighbors and the mailman are watching this happen.
Mm-hmm.
And Monica almost breaks through. That connection of two women over the shared loss of a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
And Monica on the end of not being able to do anything about it. Wanda has these crazy powers or whatever, but Monica woke up and her mother was gone and had been gone for 3 years. And she dusted herself off, excuse the pun, and made it work. But now Agnes sees, Agnes sees Wanda, and Agnes sees Monica, and Agnes sees Monica, and Agnes sees Wanda, 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 and Agnes sees ooh, I got to get in here. Things are getting dicey.
I was just gonna say that this scene between Monica and Wanda, where they're outside and like Wanda's levitating her in the air, and they talk about their shared loss. Like this was really emotional for me. Like I thought both of them did a fantastic job acting this scene, and like it was hitting like some very emotional notes for me, who I've experienced loss recently in the past year, and so like this was that was getting to me. So yeah, well done on them, I guess.
Well done. And then Agatha swoops in and pulls her out of it. Literally, like literally pulls her out of the situation. We cut back to the postman like twice now, and someone's mentioned that he had these prominent moments, and who knows if this guy's going to be anything.
I didn't get the sense that he was anyone significant. It felt more like the conflict between Wanda and Monica was breaking the reality. Like they were using superpowers out in the middle of suburbia, and the people were taking note of it. They were not like just shaking it off and like accepting whatever reality Wanda presented. It seemed like they almost broke free of her control. And then once they, what'd you say?
Like it all, like I was saying, like Monica almost broke through.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like you were saying. And I feel like they cut back to the mailman just to show the difference once the two women went back into the house, right. Or when Agnes took them away. I forget how it played out, but like they just immediately shifted back to back to the sitcom, like nothing had happened.
Right, and then we cut back to Vision and Darcy, and they have the school kids crossing in front of them. And Vision does another confessional where he wraps up that he's learning about this as if it's history or it happened to somebody else. For Wanda, it's been mere weeks since she came back, nearly killed a Titan, found out that there was no way to bring her husband back to life. And we speculate, finds out that his body is being, his remains are being, desecrated.
Yeah, possibly turned into a weapon.
And then that's when he's like, I gotta get out of here. What am I doing sitting here talking to you guys? I need to get to my wife. He hits his head on the boom mic, which is...
That was great.
He flies out of the truck, which the whole time I was like, why is he flying? You can fly, dude.
Yeah.
Pick up Darcy.
And it just speaks to like how ingrained into the Westview reality he is. Like he just kind of accepted, this is the sitcom trope. We got to like steal a car and like try to drive somewhere and then get through all these obstacles,
Right. Then back in Agnes's house, which is super dark and gloomy. Like we didn't mention it before, but like everything about the house is super gloom and doom, which is very different from any place we've seen throughout all of the rest of the series so far. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wanda spots the half-eaten food from the kids. Yo Gabba Gabba is on TV, which is
is that what that was?
It was Yo Gabba Gabba, yeah. Considering that they are like, like preteens. Right. Donald brings up an excellent point. Agatha has mentioned Ralph again, but we still don't know who he is or what's going on. So I've seen online some people saying, well, Ralph is Mephisto, or Ralph is the bunny rabbit.
Yeah, I would not be at all surprised if like the rabbit is like her familiar and that's Ralph.
She calls him Mr. Scritches or Snitches. Which
what did she did give him a name? Yeah,
is her son in the comic book? Like her son is something Snitches or something Scritches.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Hey, look, TikTok told me about it today.
Okay, yeah. Neither one of us are experts on Agatha Harkness, unfortunately.
No, not at all. But I think that's the fun part. I love learning about all the different things in the 80-year history of Marvel comics.
Yeah, like I've heard of the character and I've encountered her in a few comics, but like, I did not know anything about her son, for example.
Right. So then Wanda tries to go find her boys, and she goes down the creepy tunnel inside the basement into just like absolute witch territory. Like, and we bring, and this is where we bring our aspect ratio. We're in the screen ratio. We see some. Zachary Butler from YouTube says his name is Senior Scratchy.
That was the rabbit. Thank you.
pretty sure I saw that like her son's name in the comic book is something Scratchy. Like his last name is Scratchy or whatever, or that's what he goes by.
Interesting.
Yeah, and we hold on that book that's sitting on the sort of pedestal. And
yeah,
mine was Darkhold.
that was my thought. I mean, I was trying to remember how. I was trying to remember how it was presented on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. when they used it, but I know that like
it was like this big. It said Darkhold on it.
Like I know that Kevin Feige has kind of disavowed all the Marvel TV shows up to this point, so that may have nothing to do with anything. But
Right.
my thought was the Darkhold as well.
Book, but there are lots of Mystic books, I'm sure. I mean, there's that whole library in Camartage that, you know, and if we're going to bring Doctor Strange in, maybe it's a little more Doctor Strangey, because the Darkhold seems very like hell magic kind of thing, whereas Doctor Strange is like a cosmic magic.
Right.
So I'm thinking it's probably going to be some sort of Doctor Strange-ish book that we're
that sort of depends on whether like our faux Quicksilver is just an agent of Agatha Harkness, or if he is a significant character like Mephisto who's in on this as well. Which nothing is really like set in stone yet. We still have a lot of questions.
I love that. And then she introduces herself, and Wanda, oh no. And so then the purple magic comes in, and it sort of permeates Wanda's vision. Excuse the pun. That's where we get the theme song. So, and then so Agatha is projecting this theme song into Wanda's head.
I guess, yeah, just kind of like, it was me all along, and this is how I did it, you know. It was kind of like a villain monologue, but in song.
Hey, look, Marvel is owned by Disney, so I guess that makes a lot of sense. And I killed Sparky too. What a win. So a fun, I think a great episode, and then we'll touch quickly on the mid-credit scene.
Yeah.
Our first mid-credit scene, which thank God, I was going to be really mad if we got no mid-credit scenes throughout this entire series. Like, that's what Marvel has built its brand on.
I've been waiting. Like, I let the credits play out each time. I was like, oh, well, nothing on that one. This one had something, though, yeah.
Monica snooping around what I believe is the outside of Agnes's house.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as she crossed into the back and she went past the cellar, even though I wasn't certain it was Agnes's house, I was like, look at the cellar. Like, come on. That's got to be the first place you look. She does. She goes to the cellar, and clearly she sees that it is the creepy vine thing.
Plant growth everywhere. Yeah.
Boom. There is Quicksilver. There's Evan Peters.
Yep.
Stuck up on her. Because he was billed. He was like third billed on the episode, and he hadn't shown up yet.
So I actually had forgotten his billing on this. So the whole time I was thinking, did Wanda kill him? Why is he not? Why did he just disappear for this episode?
And now it seems a little more obvious that it's to us that Agnes was the one who put him there. So we still really don't have an answer as to why it's Evan Peters Quicksilver and not the Quicksilver, and what's the other guy's name? Aaron Taylor Johnson. Yeah, and not Aaron Taylor Johnson. And that is actually one of the most interesting questions to me.
Yeah.
Is why, because I think that'll just explain a lot of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that thing will explain a lot of the world that we're setting up here now and these new characters that we're introducing. All right. So, Eric, we're about 10 minutes over normal time.
We are, yeah.
Maui's not here. We won't tell him.
Thank you for anybody who's stuck with us this long. Ratings then, probably, right?
So what do you? How do you rate the episode?
So I know Maui was saying he liked this one more than the previous one. I kind of had the opposite reaction. Other than the Agnes reveal and the commercial that was hinting at the Nexus of all realities, this episode didn't really do it for me as much. Like, I think that may just be because I'm not a huge fan of the like Modern Family, The Office, confessional speaking before the camera type of sitcom. I don't know. I just wasn't connecting with it as much up until the big reveal. So I would give this maybe like a 4.5. I don't know. That was just kind of my reaction. I don't know.
Yeah, I started thinking about how, yeah, it's a 9-episode television show, but I think the television show is just a format. We're still telling an MCU story, which really, they've only done movies. This is just a 6-hour film.
Yeah.
And as we rate these episodes, we're just rating like our favorite parts of said movie. And like, whose favorite part of a movie is the opening? You know what I mean? Like, whose favorite part of the movie is the first 20 minutes? You know what I mean? If we scale it. So like, that's why I think, the first episode of WandaVision, while it's a very good episode of classic television and sitcom antics, like, it's never going to hold a candle to when I get a titanium truck, turned into a pickup truck. So I really enjoyed it. I had several moments of, Monica getting her powers and like Wanda actually sort of fighting with magic. I like, because we really haven't done the classic superhero battle thing yet. This has really been a tension building mystery. So I really like that. And I know that episode 4 has been my favorite so far. And this one, I think, kind of surpasses it.
Oh, okay.
Episode 4 did a lot for me, but this is really good. It's still, these last 3 episodes are not going to stand on their own. There's no way you could watch them individually. Episode 4, I think, is the last episode that could stand on its own. And after that, you have to have watched the previous ones, or nothing makes sense.
Yeah, I had a real hard time doing these ratings. I'll be honest.
Well, we're splitting hairs, they're all real close. But what a great episode, and I'm super looking forward to next week.
Oh yeah, can't wait. I hope that next week we start to get even more answers.
Let's get some more answers
going on.
Characters. I want to see Reed Richards, Doctor Strange, and some LMDs. It's gonna be great. Well, thank you all for watching. Dope Reviews, WandaVision episode 7, hosted by Maui Jones. He will be back, I believe, for the probably for the whole episode next week, because I just have a feeling it's gonna be an explosive episode. Eric, where can everybody find you?
You can find me as Eric Lindbergh on Facebook, or reach out through the Reflect Media page.
And as it says down here, I am at, where is it? There it is. I'm at T-Squiz on the Instagrams and the Twitters if you want to sort of shout or chat at us more. Thank you all for watching. And we'll see you next time in WandaVision. Bye.
Bye.